The blunt truth is that clients don't want form fillers anymore. They don't want record keepers. They don't want order takers. They don't value accountants who just turn up at the year end and hand over tax returns without any context. They do want trusted advisors, but they want a future-focused approach. That call it foresight. They want someone who can help them make a better business, make better financial decisions. So when a client asks you about the past, you can respond with a twist to the future. So we're in a 6-part series here on the journey, if you like, from compliance to counsel. And people talk about CAS a lot. I don't have any particular interpretation of what it is, but we want to give you the best possible projects, clients, opportunities, career openings, influence in your role so that you have the choice to do what you want and you're not pushed to do what you want. So let's get into today's episode. In the last episode of the Accounting Influencers podcast, we talked about the automation tsunami, how AI is already automating 50% of compliance tasks. We gave you the stat how 340,000 of accountants have left the US profession in the last 3 years. Other countries are available, but we deal mostly in this podcast with the English-speaking Atlantic-type countries, but we are all over the world. We looked at private equity and how it's changing things with the roll-ups, the big layoffs, the shrinking of middle management, and the technically competent people are becoming invisible. They're becoming expendable unless you are proactive and do something about that. So we're in a 6-part series here on the journey, if you like, from compliance to counsel, to you becoming more valuable as that trusted advisor, trusted accounting voice in the eyes of your compatriots, your colleagues, your clients in the communities that you serve. So to recap, episode 1, we talked about the threat that compliance is collapsing. And if you missed it, you can go back, listen, watch on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, because that episode sets the context of everything that follows in this series. So this is Accounting Influencers. I'm Rob Brown, your host. This is episode 2 of the 6-part survival guide from compliance to counsel. And I'm trying to help you navigate the route of relevance, competitiveness, influence, having a voice, having authority, being vocal, being visible, having a say in your own destiny, having some control and autonomy over your career in the torrid age of AI and M&A and everything else that's going on. This shows where ambitious accountants and leaders get the foresight, the playbook to stay visible, to be influential when irrelevance equals unemployment. That's the soundbite that we coined in the last episode. So it's where we are in this series. Episode 1 set the scene. Compliance is dying. I'm not saying it's dead. I'm not saying accounting firms don't make lots of money from compliance, and I don't say it will continue to be a money earner. But we know there's downward pressure on compliance fees. We know it's less and less valued by clients, and that's what we're going to concentrate on in this episode, client expectations. Just to give you a roadmap, episode 3, we're going to talk about the mindset of an advisor, what that looks like in your accounting role. Episode 4 is going to be a playbook to make the actual shift if you haven't already, or check that you're on the right road. Episode 5 is going to focus on technology as your ally. That's going to equip you to make the necessary changes. In episode 6, we're going to look at personal brand as the ultimate in career insurance. And remember, you can leave accounting if you want to. The accounting qualification is good for so many things. But we want to give you the best possible projects, clients, opportunities, career openings, influence in your role so that you have the choice to do what you want and you're not pushed to do what you want. So let's get into today's episode. The blunt truth is that clients don't want form fillers anymore. They don't want record keepers. They don't want order takers. They don't value accountants who just turn up at the year end and hand over tax returns without any context. Even beyond management reports and cash flow reports, that's advisory 1.0, if you like. They do want trusted advisors, but they want a future-focused approach, that call it foresight. They want someone who can help them make a better business, make better financial decisions, chart the murky waters of what is coming up, because nobody truly knows. But hopefully accountants, as business experts and the guardians of all the data, you've almost got a crystal ball that you should be able to look forward and mitigate risks for your clients in the future and not just now. And the data backs this up about what clients are looking for. A Thomson Reuters survey found that 70% of SME, that small, medium enterprises, In the States, you might call SMB, small, medium businesses, but they are the backbone of the economy, aren't they? 70% of them would switch firms to somewhere else if another accountant offered more proactive advice. Proactive advice means advice before you're asked to give advice. It's jumping ahead of it, isn't it? And answering the questions that your clients haven't even thought of asking yet. The AICPA has said repeatedly that firms with strong advisory practices grow faster, retain more clients than those that stick with compliance alone. So think about that for a moment. That writing's on the wall. That decision's already been made. That course has been charted, and the ship, the plane, it's going in that direction, and you're not going to get off that unless you get out of the game. So I want to bring this down to an individual level for you. Think about your client base, your portfolio, your book of business, whatever you want to call it. Presumably you've got people that you're looking after. If not, just think of it in terms of your stakeholders. You may not have a client-facing role, but you've got people that rely on your advice, your input, your wisdom, your counsel. They don't necessarily want an analysis, forensic on what's gone on. They also want what's coming up. So whatever you have, clients, stakeholders, how many of them have ever said something like, I wish I knew that sooner. I wish you'd told me that sooner. Why wasn't this flagged up before it became a problem? That's the frustration clients often feel. This information's too late for me. What can I do with this now? It's this backward-looking perspective. And they're not paying for history anymore. They're paying for insight. They're paying for foresight. And this is where you come in, because the danger is if you don't provide that advisory relationship, somebody else will. I've heard stories of accounting work going to software specialists that are very skilled in a certain environment, might include some financial reporting and forecasting and things like that weren't accountants. Now, they might source to an accountant to actually submit the returns or some legal entity, but they move their accounting work to software specialists and people that could help them navigate the future better than their current accountants were. So you've got to make sure that you are, yes, in competition with other firms, other accountants, even technology vendors who are positioning themselves as trusted business advisors, but you can compete with them and put some clear water between what you're offering and what they're offering. And the more you stay silent, the more someone else, some other entity is going to step into your client's ear. They're going to have their ear, their attention. And there is a war for attention out there. You might think you've got some great client relationships, but I promise you that this week they'll have had approaches from other accounting firms, from other vendors, suppliers, providers, coaxing them into spending money with them and undermining your position as that go-to trusted advisor for what you do. So I want to flip this into an opportunity. We're trying to be practical on this show, and I want to give you some things that you can do to get ahead of this. So I want to share with you right now 3 things that clients want from their accountants today. Number 1, they want foresight, the ability to predict, to plan, to help them see what's coming. It used to be we could say what best practice was and what was going to work next month, next year, next 5 years. We could make long-term business plans. It's more difficult now for sure. But if anyone can do it, the accounting professional, even the bookkeeper, can do it, because they see what's happened in history can dictate the future, can't it? So foresight. Number 2, strategy. Context. Context is a cornerstone of influence. If you want to influence people, don't just give them the what and the how, give them the why. So context, recommendations, suggestions, not just the numbers, but the narrative, the story behind the numbers, what that means. And that informs strategy, helps them make better business decisions. That is really valuable. And number 3, sector fluency. You can interpret this in a number of ways, but that commercial awareness, that business acumen, if you like, to show them that 3 things. 1 is you understand their problems. 2 is you speak their language. And 3 is you use their vocabulary in your communication. So if they know that you get that, and you know their world, and you know their pain, and you understand their situation, knowing their industry, whatever they're in, that brings you such relevant insights, specialist information that they can act on. It's not a general stuff. Yes, it's okay bringing in insights from different sectors and areas of expertise. I'm not saying niche and do nothing else. generalism is good, but specialism can be better. If you can be a general specialist, even better than that. It gives you sector fluency. That's number 3. So if you can deliver these things, if you've got foresight, strategy, and sector fluency, commercial awareness in your toolbox, in your weaponry, then you stop being a form filler. You start becoming indispensable. You start becoming that obvious expert. A little example. I spoke with a partner of a mid-sized firm recently. They had a manufacturing client. That client was shopping around because they felt the firm was too passive. And the partner knew this. He wasn't lead on the relationship, but he saw that there was some problems with whoever was managing that relationship. So he took control of it and started to bring in quarterly decision meetings where they walked the client through the forecast, pricing scenarios, what if models. And the client went for that. And they didn't charge the client for the first year, but within a year, that client, when they put the new proposal to them to renew, tripled their fees with the firm. And that's not just because compliance got a lot more complicated. Compliance is always going to be complicated. That's why it's made lots of money for accountants over the years. But it's becoming less relevant and it's becoming more automated. And ChatGPT and other AI models can pass the bar exam. They can pass a CPA or chartered accounting qualifications. What it's not good at, these AI models, is offering advice and getting into complex situations, emotional situations, messy situations. That kind of advice drives value. So you've got to think of that. And that's where the shift in the demands of clients is taking place. So it's your safest bet for career survival if you can embrace this new world and get ahead of the wave. AI can fill in forms. Technology can crunch the numbers. Stuff can be done at the push of a button. But AI cannot look a client in the eye, understand context, understand the emotions, the personality, the motives, the drivers, challenge assumptions. You can do that. AI does that to an extent, but you can help them shape the next move, and they trust you more than they will trust AI. This is a human game. This is what advisory is all about. Yes, it starts with bookkeeping and knowing the numbers, but beyond that, you've got to transcend to being that trusted advisor. So to finish this episode off, 5 things you can do right now to align better with the expectations of your clients. Number 1, ask every client 1 or more forward-thinking questions in the next meeting that you have with them. And you should be having regular meetings. An example, and you can ChatGPT or Google this. What are some good forward-looking questions that I can ask my accounting clients? Or ask your peers or your partners or your mentors in the firm what questions they ask. But the question, it might be this: what's the biggest decision you need to make this quarter? Or what absolutely needs to happen in the next 6 months? Or if we were to project a year from now, what position would you like to be in? These are all examples. I made a couple up there. You can think of loads of them. Let's focus on those forward-thinking questions as much as all the retrospective stuff that you need to do. I get that. So that's number 1, forward-looking question every meeting. Number 2, schedule 1 advisory-style conversation every month. It might even be off the clock. I hope that doesn't scare you, but advisory-style conversations, you can put it in any wording you like to get the client to come to a Zoom or a Teams call or even an in-person visit. But this is not about tax. This is about strategy and about future. It's not necessarily about compliance and audit and assurance. It's about helping them map out the uncertain times to help them succeed. So that's number 2. Schedule, if you can, a monthly or a quarterly advisory meeting. Number 3, start tracking advisory hours separate to compliance. Everything gets wrapped up, doesn't it? But awareness changes behaviors, it changes focus, it changes outputs. So if you can, try and make that distinction and clock it separately. Number 4, build an industry briefing. I've always encouraged you on this show to be a thought leader, to be an opinion shaper, to be an obvious expert, to be more vocal and more visible. And that might mean putting stuff out there, commentary, insights. Remember, the word authority is has its root in author, which is publishing, isn't it? It's having your word, your insights put into print. So prepare a short industry briefing for your clients in specific sectors. You can easily do some research on this and chat GPT it, but just sharing 3 insights that shows that you understand their world and send it to them. You can stick your logo on it and say, I prepared this recently for a few clients. I thought you might be interested. I thought this might benefit you. I prepared this recently with you in mind. I thought you might value from it. That's pretty cool, right? That shows them that you are being proactive. And number 5, this is kind of a psychological technique, but practice reframing. So when a client asks you about the past, you can respond with a twist to the future. Yet, here's what's happened, but here's what it means for what comes next. Yes, that's what's gone on before, but here are the implications if we continue down that path. So you're always reframing in the client's eyes as much as yours that, yeah, that was then, this is now, and here's what that's going to mean. And here's why we need to take action now. So you're always pivoting it towards the future. The essence of this series that I'm doing is, and people talk about CAS a lot. I don't have any particular interpretation of what it is. For me, means proactive advice. Advisor is not an optional extra anymore. It's the core expectation of clients that are doing anything of value. Some people will always want compliance because they just want to stay out of jail. I get that, but you've got an opportunity here to be more indispensable, more valuable, more relevant, more in demand. And it starts with having more of an advisory mindset. And by the way, if you want to be more visible, more authoritative, this is something I do for clients. I have a personal brand interview service where I help professionals like you. We do a video every month. It creates high impact video content, which definitely gets attention. But it would showcase your expertise. It would position you as a trusted advisor, you and maybe people in your firm. If you want to start building a content library and authority very quickly, I'm sure you're great in an interview, maybe not turning a webcam on and writing an article, but this is the kind of thing you need now to build your voice with your firms, with your client base, with your prospects. So reach out to me if you want to talk more about that. Let's close this off. Clients no longer want accountants to fill in forms. They can do that with a push of a button. They want foresight, they want strategy, they want fluency. Remember, 70%, that's over 2/3, said they would switch firms for more proactive advice. So advisory, in my mind, is the only safe harbor left in a profession that's been automated, consolidated, commoditised. You've been listening to episode 2 in a series from Compliance to Counsel. I'm Rob Brown, I've been your host. Remember, episode 1 was the threat. Episode 2 we've done today is the demand. Next, we'll dive into episode 3. That's the mindset, the skills and thinking you need to step into this new role. If you found this useful, we really thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and share this episode with colleagues and friends. We love you spreading the word, and I appreciate that personally. And check out the other 2 shows that I'm involved with. I host a show called Leaders of the Ledger from CPA Practice Advisor. And that's where we interview accounting's rising influencers and the voices in this profession. And then Inside Public Accounting with Chelsea Summers, where we tell the stories behind the numbers and the brilliant research that Inside Public Accounting do. So that's been the show. We'll see you next time. Here's the soundbite to finish. I said it last time. Irrelevance equals unemployment. So advisory, visibility, authority equals survival. The choice is yours.